This is bananas. So this happened. So Thom Brennaman is a famous play-by-play guy, announcer, baseball announcer, does some football games as well. He's on Fox, and he is the announcer for the Cincinnati Reds. So Thom Brennaman was at a game in Kansas City, and before it was a doubleheader, and before the pregame, Thom Brennaman in the first game, I'll play it now, but this happened.
The fag capitals of the world. Reds Live, the pregame show presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing.
Okay, like, oh, what the hell, Tom? Like, not good, right? Not good at all. Came out of nowhere. How'd you say that? What the hell just happened? So that happens, and obviously he doesn't know he's on air. Obviously he doesn't know the mic is hot. And so Tom goes to he's announcing the doubleheader. He's just in there. He's just talking. And can you imagine? He's talking in the doubleheader. He's announcing the game, and his phone is probably blowing up. He was trending. And Thom Brennaman probably is not trending very often. Thom Brennaman is all of a sudden getting Twitter alerts, all this other stuff's happening. And his producers are probably going crazy, right? And so in the fifth inning of the second game, in the fifth inning of the second game, now let's back up a little bit. So he did the entire first game. And I think the pregame, I'm not sure now that I'm reading it. I'm not sure now that I'm talking about it. I'm not sure if it was the pregame of the first game or the pregame of the second game. It might have been. I really don't know, honestly. I cannot comfortably say what it was. But he said the slur, what we heard, in a pregame. Now, it might have been for the first game or the second game. Fox decides to keep him on air. No clue why. Like, Fox knows this has happened, right? They're seeing the pushback. He's trending on Twitter. I'm sure they're getting added. And they keep him on for the second game. So now he's announcing the second game completely aloof to the shitstorm that's happened on social media and all just national news. So then in the fifth inning, in a 3-0 ball game, he goes live with his apology. And now let's play the apology. This apology is, I believe, will go down as probably one of the most infamous moments in sports, like commentary history or sports media history or whatever. And you will see this played nonstop. So here is Thom Brennaman's apology in the fifth inning for what we heard earlier.
Castellanos to lead things off. Jim Day's going to be taking us the rest of the way through this game as Holland takes over on the mound. I made a comment earlier tonight that I guess went out over the air that I am deeply ashamed of. If I have hurt anyone out there, I can't tell you how much I say from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again. I don't know if it's going to be for the Reds. I don't know if it's going to be for my bosses at Fox. I'm going to apologize for the people who signed my paycheck, for the Reds, for Fox Sports Ohio, for the people I work with, for anybody that I've offended here tonight. I can't begin to tell you how deeply sorry I am. That is not who I am and never has been. And I'd like to think maybe I could have some people that could back that up. I am very, very sorry, and I beg for your forgiveness. Jim Day will take you the rest of the way home.
How unbelievable is that? Now, from a media standpoint, I don't know why you keep him on the air. I don't think there's a benefit to him apologizing because, one, he is like trying to process all this on the fly. And so to be like, hey, man, your whole life is being flipped upside down right now. Issue an apology live on air to the worst moment in your entire life with zero prep, nothing. Just do it. That's really hard to get right. You can really, because now you're doubling down, because now everyone hates you. You're in the worst spot you could ever be in. If you say something worse, it looks 20 times worse. And if you say something good, it probably doesn't matter because you're in such a bad situation. So it's way better to just say, to have Fox say, hey, look, we got Thom off the air. He's suspended indefinitely. And then 2 days later for Thom to come up with like an actual PR marketing apology. But no, they make him do it live. And as you heard, he drops a home run call in the middle of the apology. The craziest thing I've ever seen. You talk about robot. You talk about not care at all about the apology. I am so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. And here's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos. It'll be a home run, so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again. I don't know if it's going to be for the Reds. I don't know if it's going to be for my bosses at Fox. Ooh, outside pitch. That makes it 3-1. Wow, almost a strike there, but the ump calls it a ball. Anyways, that's not who I am. It never has been. And I like to think that maybe I could have some people for that could back that up. Oh, and a strike right down inside, 97 miles an hour. Who brought the cheese on that one? I am very, very sorry. Like, what in the world? How insane is that? That is how, how like when you're driving, you go through like a stop sign, or you don't go through it, but like you just have a stop sign or a red light, and then like 10 minutes later, you're like, whoa, did I go through that stop sign? Did I go through that red light? And that's actually a thing that happens in the human brain, is that when we do things over and over again, eventually our brain puts us on like autopilot. And we do things, like when you're cleaning, this happens a lot. Or you're doing like rudimentary stuff, mopping or sweeping, or even something at your job, like stapling papers or something. And you're like 5 minutes later, you're like, oh shit, what the hell just happened? Next thing you know, you got 50 pages stapled, and you're like, man, I don't even remember doing those. And it's because it's just in your mind, it becomes so rudimentary that your mind allows you to think about other things and keeps that on autopilot. It's actually a really incredible thing that humans can do, especially with something as serious as driving a car, right? You can drive a car and on like your daily commute, and you can go through a stop sign, 2 red lights, make a right turn, make a left turn, go through a toll booth, and you don't remember any of it, but you do it all correctly, right? That's what I think Thom Brennaman was doing. I think he was just on such autopilot, like his brain was just on such meltdown mode. He's probably thinking about his family. He's probably thinking about everything. And, his job, his career, his profession, how people view him, his friends, whatever. And he's also doing this live thing. So I think that just automatically his brain goes to also calling the game. But this was the most surreal thing. Can you imagine his drive home? Like they tell him to leave, and now he's thinking like, oh my God, I'm now that guy. I'm now that guy that's in the media for a homophobic slur, and I'm fired from my job, and it's all over. And he's driving home. He probably has the Reds game on his radio, if I had to guess. And he's probably driving home, like, listening to the Reds game that he should be calling. Gets home, his wife or whatever's like, hey, you're home early. Isn't the game still going on? Yeah, it's still going on, all right. Why aren't you calling it? Oh, yeah, hey, anyways, so remember that time we were in Kansas City? Like, remember when we said those things? Well, you also know how there's a lot of microphones where I work. So one of the microphones was on. Crazy, man. Like, it's just so crazy how fast that stuff happens. And look, I'm not saying like, hey, I'm not. One of the comments I was reading, I was watching this live when it happened. I wasn't watching the game, but I saw it all unfold on Twitter. And one of the comments was like, well, I mean, he didn't know the mic was on. It's like, what the hell does that matter? What does that? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he didn't know the mic was on. What the hell are you talking about? Like, that's something that. And look, I think, and we can go into, I guess, his second, because he did have a second apology, but I think that, like, Thom Brennaman, you can tell by the way he said that he uses that phrase a lot. Like, he says that a lot. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy because sometimes people say those things, and again, I'm not defending Thom Brennaman, but he said that so flippant that it's like, man, I don't think he understands the severity of what he's saying, you know? And as weird as it sounds, it's like, you know, he may not be an outright and, you know, like an outright homophobe. He may just be just got himself into a situation where like he just uses that so flippant. Now, that is a huge issue. You know what I mean? And that is a huge problem. And what he said is 100% correct or 100% wrong. Not correct. Not correct. I did not mean to say what he said was correct. I meant to say what he said was 100% wrong, and it was correct for Fox Sports to fire him. Okay? If that doesn't show you, like that little mess up we just had, that little dyslexia. Then I say dyslexia. This is the worst day ever. I'm over here saying that Brennaman's correct, and I've got dyslexia. That little moment of dyslexia right there, where I flipped the two words up in the sentence, most people would edit that out. Most people would cut that out. But y'all know I don't edit on this show. Y'all know I don't have a script on this show. So what I was saying was, before all that happened, what I was saying was, it's kind of crazy for Brennaman because this is probably just a habitual thing he says that is an awful thing, but he may not even realize how awful it is. So he's just throwing it out there, and he gets canned for it, suspended, fired, all that stuff, and he probably isn't even like a homophobe. He's just naive of the whole situation. And that's what happens. That's when you get lost in the sauce. When you're so out of touch and you are so unevolved and you cannot get into, you know, it's just like when people in sports used to say, there used to be a commercial, an ad campaign. And this was a really common thing. This happened on TV shows. And I'm not talking about like a long time ago. You can find this stuff in like the past 10 years where people in shows would say stuff like, oh man, that's gay. You know, like stuff like that. And there was a wrestling video. I don't know if I'll be able to find it for the show. I'll try to. So if it does pop in, then it's a wrestling thing. If not, it's a super niche wrestling thing. But the promo, the guy like talks about, I think he says queer. And this is on like WWE television. You know, it's kind of the same with blackface, where you heard that a lot. You know, when I was growing up, I heard that a lot in TV shows or movies or whatever, of people saying, oh, that's gay or don't be gay or whatever. And now you would never say that. Like now it's very derogatory. Now, you know, it's real bad. In the 90s, when people said that kind of stuff, it's like they probably weren't homophobes. That was just this weird word that was kind of commonplace and kind of in like that societal bubble. And then as it evolves, people are supposed to evolve with it. Like I would never say that now, right? Like no TV show or movie would have that phrase in there now. You got to evolve. You absolutely have to evolve. And I obviously don't know Thom Brennaman. He may just be an outright homophobe. I don't know. But it goes to show you have to evolve. And, you know, if you do not evolve, you will certainly get lost in the sauce. And that is not where you want to be. It's where you get caught with your pants down, metaphorically. That is not where you need to be.